And joining us, we have our old friend from the Ig Nobel Awards. We have Mark Abrahams. I keep calling you Abrams, but I shorten it, but it's really Abrahams.
We usually say Abrams, but
Oh,
when
you do?
you people with names that can be read different ways get used to that. And so
Okay.
in my family and a lot of other families I've noticed, there's the name we use every day. And then if we call for reservation someplace, a restaurant or something,
Hmm.
you do it in the way that they're probably going to spell it better.
Oh, got it. Got it. All right, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. So you are coming off the heels of the 35th Ig Nobel Awards. How are you feeling?
35th first annual Ig Nobel Prize. So
35th first annuals. Yes, I love that you do that.
yeah, pretty good. So for people who aren't familiar with it,
Yes, tell them.
and its prize has been doing this for 35 years and 10 prizes every year for something unusual. It's for things that make people laugh and then think. So this is not like almost any other prize that's supposed to be for the very best something or the very worst something. That doesn't
Mhm.
matter. With us, it's so intriguing. It's so unusual. It's so interesting that your only immediate reaction is going to be to start laughing. But then
I
it's
love it.
stick in your head and you want to talk about it.
I love it. I love it. All right. So listen, for before we move on, everybody was like, did we just join the conversation? No, we had some technical difficulties. So we are popping in. And on YouTube, it's a little bit different when we go live. So we both showed up, and so I was like, let's just get into it because it's going to be a great night with lots of information. So you didn't miss anything. We just like, listen, Mark is an old friend. He knows what this how this goes. So you didn't miss anything. We just jumped in. Mark and I were talking a little bit before, but I knew we weren't live, so we're going to go over it again.
Yeah.
All right. So this has been going on for 35 years of your first annuals, and these are scientists from all over the world.
It's mostly scientists and sometimes other people, but a lot of these things are scientific discoveries. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of scientists discovering all kinds of things. Most of them are outside people's experience. So they sound really crazy the first time you hear about them. But then when you learn a little detail, well, maybe it will still sound crazy, or maybe it starts to make a whole new kind of sense to you.
So how many because you're saying what there were 10 awards this year that you gave
10,
out?
yeah, 10
Okay.
every year.
And how many do you sift through?
One year, excuse me, one year I got curious about how many come in a year.
Right.
And I counted them roughly for that one year. We got about 9,000 nominations. We're also looking ourselves, and it's not just for stuff in the past year.
Well,
We're looking for, we're looking
that
for
was
the distant past.
interesting. There
As
was
long as there's somebody still alive who is connected with the person who did it. So sometimes we'll get the son or even or daughter or granddaughter or grandson of the person who can come to the ceremony.
It's really crazy because I am obsessed with these, and so you always come and explain them, but I do my research. So the engineering prize, they
Yeah.
actually said it. So this one was from an engineering perspective. It was how foul-smelling shoes can affect the good experience of using a shoe rack. And these guys apparently did this years ago, and
Yeah.
that you found them and they were like, we never told anybody about it. We just did it. We thought it was interesting. We're like, we could fix the whole smelly thing and you can explain that in a minute. But I just thought it was so funny that they didn't even put in for it. You just called and you're like, you're a winner.
Oh, that's pretty typical. Yeah. Well, they didn't do nothing. They wrote an explanation. They wrote an article, they sent it to a scientific journal that published it, an engineering journal, about, hey, it's not the greatest or most exciting thing in the world, but it was interesting to us and
Yeah.
unexpected. That's what the article said. And they were doing something. One of them was a student, so that's how this started. And he was learning how to be an engineer and design things that people
Right.
might use and people might want to buy. So he picked something kind of easy, a shoe rack, something that a shoe store might buy to display the shoes. And he discovered that no matter how good your design is on something, it can be ruined if the store puts smelly shoes on the shoe rack.
And
That's what this was about.
yeah, he said another thing he said was that he, I guess, was like living in the dorms, and he
Yeah,
would walk through the dorms, and all these students had shoe racks in the hallways with all their
yeah.
shoes on it. And he thought, oh, well, we should make a nicer one so they'll want to put it in their room. But then he said they're not keeping it in the hallway because they don't think the shoe rack is pretty. They're keeping it in the hallway because their shoes stink so bad.
You really
Um,
did your research on this. You weren't
I
kidding.
did. I
Yeah.
did, and it was so interesting because they use UV light. Like, they want to sell a shoe rack with this UV light because the smell comes from a certain bacteria. And it
Mhm.
said if you shine the UV light in the shoes for 2 minutes, it doesn't really do anything. If you shine it for 4 minutes or 6 minutes, it starts to smell like burnt rubber, but you push through. It says around 10 minutes of UV light, it will kill all the bacteria and they won't smell. But if you hit 14 or 16 minutes, the shoe is actually burning now. Like, it was
Yeah, yeah.
so specific.
I'm really impressed at how careful, and not for the first time, how careful you are when you get interested in something.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
most people get interested in something and they might spend a couple seconds or something looking into it. Whereas you, I've seen you do this several times now. You go look at the thing and you start looking at the detail and you start thinking about it.
It's
That's the world would be a little better place if more people did that.
It's so interesting, Mark. Like, it's so funny because so many of the ones that you pick are either just like super funny and quirky, or they're like super useful. Like, you know how many moms would be like, "Yeah, I'm going to need to get this shoe rack. My son is
Yeah.
disgusting." And
Well,
just
okay, you
shove it all
mentioned
over his
moms.
body.
One of the prizes involved moms. It was done by some scientists in Philadelphia. There's a place called the Monell Chemical Center there that does a lot of research about anything, everything related to how things taste and how things smell.
Tell me.
And many years ago, two of the people there got interested in smells that can be in milk. You can buy sometimes milk that was from cows that were raised on a field near where there was garlic growing or onions growing. And the smell of the garlic or the smell of the onions gets into the milk. This is
Hmm.
kind of well known in the milk industry.
I don't hang out with a lot of milk people, so keep talking.
Right. So I've forgotten the details of exactly how they came to get really intensely interested in this question, but it was with new mothers, especially mothers who are having their first child.
Mhm.
If the mother eats a meal that has a lot of garlic in it, that's going to get into the milk. And
I read that.
how is that going to affect the
I
kid?
read that,
And how
but
is that going to affect the relationship of the mother and the kid? And nobody knew. So they started looking into this. And
and
we
they
gave them
said
a
that
prize all these
they
years
s-
later for
they
doing that.
said that babies actually really enjoyed the taste of the milk that had like a garlic
Yeah,
blend.
yeah. In fact, they went further. I've spent some time with them now. They're really interesting people. They've done all kinds of things. And they say what they and a lot of other people have found over and over through the years is almost whatever kind of food a mother is eating while the child is still developing, before the child is born, after the kid is born, the kid will usually like that taste. And it's really rare that the kid will grow up and not like the taste of the food that the mother was eating.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
And for
So
years
interesting.
and years, for decades and decades, so much scientific research was done by men who were not so interested in this. And then over
I'm
the years,
kind
more
of
women
you.
got involved and started,
Thank you.
yeah,
Because I still have not seen in any of the years any research on whether PMS symptoms can be used as a defense in murder, or a reason that men should just forget everything you say during a certain time period. I'm waiting for it, Mark. I'm waiting for it.
Ooh,
Now,
man, that sounds like about the most difficult thing you could do
Mark,
if you wanted to be really persuasive so that
yeah,
nobody could argue with what you found.
well, I think I did
And
it. I
maybe,
really did it.
maybe, maybe you're going to be the person who starts
I
this
think I
off.
might be, Mark. I might be. Now, tell everybody, because this one was so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about the biology prize. The chem.
Oh, yeah. This was by some scientists in Japan.
Yes.
They say that they did a whole bunch of tests and they discovered that if you take a cow that's in a place where it's going to be bitten by flies a lot, you can improve its life. You can cut way down on how often it's bitten by flies if you paint zebra stripes on the cow.
Duh. And why is that?
They're not quite sure. Why is a sometimes an even separate question. First step is this
Prove
true
it.
or not? Does
Yeah,
it
prove
happen
it.
or not?
Mhm.
Explaining it then, that gets into arguments. But they did it enough that they're pretty sure this consistently works, at least with the kinds of cows they were looking at. And they didn't start from scratch on this. We gave an Ig Nobel Prize maybe 10 or 15 years ago to a team in Europe who had looked at something kind of similar. And these people in Japan noticed that. So this previous Ig Nobel Prize led to this one. The people in Europe were interested in light and animals and how do those two things relate to each other. And they were looking at horses that were getting annoyed and worse than annoyed by being bitten by insects.
How
So they
can you tell
started
if a horse is annoyed? I mean, that would be my first, like,
talk to some people who were around
they know.
horses. They'll
They
tell you
know. They know.
if the horse is getting bitten by flies a lot, the horse will not be so happy.
Uh-huh.
And they discovered, they say, by looking at a lot of different horses over a long period of time, that horses that were white got bitten by flies far less often than horses that had black hair, black fur.
Hmm, interesting. Well, they
And
said,
they went into the physics of how this apparently works and tested some other stuff too. So years later, these people in Japan noticed this and started wondering if this is true. What about zebras and what about cows, which are more common,
mhm.
where these people live and commercially. So they tried it. They painted stripes on cows and discovered that that made the cows get bitten by flies a lot less often.
And they said that this was important because these were maybe some good alternatives to
Yeah,
pesticides.
yeah.
That we just start painting all the cows different colors.
And it's fun.
I mean, who wouldn't want to paint a cow?
At the ceremony, some of the team, it was a pretty big team of scientists, some of them flew over from Japan to the ceremony, which was here in Boston at Boston University this year. They got up on stage, and one of them was wearing a nice suit. And then in the middle of his speech, his short 1 minute speech, in the middle of his speech,
He tore it
he
off.
took off his jacket,
Of course he did.
unbuttoned his white shirt, took it off, and underneath he had a striped black and white zebra stripe shirt. And
Of
the
course
crowd
he
went crazy. It was a
did.
beautiful moment of theater.
Ugh, I just love when smart, nerdy people are funny. And it's just like smart comedy. Mark, I was so mad I missed it. All right, I have another one. Now, this one confused
Yeah.
me because there's a lot of words in here that didn't seem to go together at all. So, this is out
Yeah.
of Nigeria, Togo, Italy, and France. This is your nutrition prize. And I
Yep.
have no idea why we tested this or how this would be useful in the universe. So, tell everybody.
Okay. The question you're asking about how it's useful, who knows at this
Yes.
point?
Thank you.
These were some people who were studying lizards. They're really interested in lizards and other things, but they spent a lot of time studying lizards.
Okay.
And they noticed that of the lizards that they were watching and getting to know really well, every once in a while there'd be sort of an accident. Somebody would bring a pizza there and kind of leave parts of the pizza and wander away, and the lizards would come. And they noticed that sometimes the lizards would be frantic to get that pizza and would scarf it down. And other times, the lizards didn't seem to care at all
They're
about the
not
pizza.
interested in this
So
pizza.
they started paying a lot of attention and setting up just some simple experiments to try to figure out what's going on. Is there some regularity to this, something you can predict that's going to keep happening about
Mm.
why these lizards seem to sometimes go for pizza and sometimes not. And they discovered that it depended entirely on what kind of pizza. If they had, I think it was 4 cheese pizza, the
Yeah,
lizards went crazy for 4 cheese pizza.
four
But
cheese
when
pizza.
but when they put out other kinds of pizza, the lizards just
They were
uh,
like, we don't
you
want
know,
this. But they were
yep.
Italian. They were Italian lizards. They were
Maybe,
like,
but who would have expected that? They certainly didn't expect it.
it's so
And
crazy.
what's going on? I mean, this is not, part of how you and I come to try new foods is we see advertising on TV and
Yeah, yeah.
friends tell us. Lizards probably don't see a whole lot of ads about this.
They do
They
not.
just happened across this pizza and happened across some other pizza, and some of it they loved and some of it they absolutely didn't. What's going on inside the lizards?
Yeah. So cool. All right, if you're just joining us, we're sitting here with
Huh.
Mark Abrams. He's from the Ig Nobel Prize Awards, and they just had it in early September. And they picked 10 awards for amazing advances in science that are quirky, fun, whatever. And every year I am just totally mesmerized by them. This next one is just so kooky funny. So this is out of the Netherlands, the UK, and Germany, and this was your Peace Prize. So this is about alcohol. So sit up, everybody. Put those drinks down for a second
I'll
and
sit up
listen to
and
what we
I will
found out.
not put my drink down.
There you go. Put your drink down.
Yep.
Tell them all what we'll be doing if we keep drinking.
Depending on who's in the room with us.
Hmm.
These are some people in the Netherlands, Germany, and the UK, I guess. Yeah. And they live in a part of the world where it's pretty common you run across people speaking different languages.
Right?
And most people speak one language. In Europe, a lot of people might speak two or three, but they're
Yeah.
always going to be running into people who speak languages they don't.
Many languages.
Yep. So what they were looking at was something that probably everybody's heard as a kind of joke, but some people have experienced, and some people have experienced a lot, which is if you're trying to speak a foreign language and you
Yeah.
have some drinks, do you get better? Is it easier? Are you more,
I've never heard of this, Mark.
ah,
Have you heard of this?
I experienced this once years ago and I was startled. I mean, I didn't, I was
You
in a room
broke
with
into
people
tongues?
speaking different languages and I didn't speak any of them. But a couple times I was standing there and I thought, understand a little bit the words that one person was trying to speak to another person standing next to us who didn't speak that language. Because a lot of words sound similar in different languages.
So
So
maybe when you're drunk.
I was just amazed that for all of 3 seconds I could be the translator of these two languages I didn't speak. And ever since then I've wondered. So now come these people in Europe, and they say that it's pretty consistently true that when people drink, not dead drunk, but drink some alcohol, they relax. And it's a little easier for them to speak the foreign language.
But
And
here's what's
the details of it are not that people instantly became really good at speaking
fluent.
French or
Right.
Polish or Italian or whatever.
Right.
It's that they relaxed enough that they could start to pronounce it more clearly. They
Oh.
weren't so embarrassed to try to speak, say, French with a French accent, which
Yes.
makes it easier for the French person to understand your
Mhm.
words, that kind of thing.
All right. Now here's what's crazy. And this is what got me
Yeah.
because this is what you just said is like drunk Duolingo. Susie just said that, Susie Crabtree. But here's what's so crazy is it specifically says that drinking alcohol sometimes improves a person's ability to speak foreign languages, specifically Dutch. Like it was so specific. So I have some
Yeah.
friends that are in where are they? Hold on.
The
Everybody will
Netherlands.
they're yeah, it's
They're
where are they?
somewhere. They're somewhere.
They're somewhere. And
Yeah.
they can speak Dutch.
Wow.
But they also speak English
Yeah.
in Bruges. Thank you, Karen.
Okay. So there's
And
Belgium, which is right next to the Netherlands, and half of Belgium. Belgium's a funny country. It's a
it
tiny
is.
country, but the people in the north speak Dutch, and the people in the south speak French.
Yeah, that's what he said. And so
Yeah.
he is fluent in so many languages. But like you were saying, there are some languages that if
Yeah.
you really listen, you'll hear. There is nothing in Dutch. It just sounds like straight gibberish to me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but it specifically said if you drink more, you will
Yeah.
specifically improve your ability to speak Dutch. And I was like, well, that's what it would require because
I
sober, I
would
have no
I
idea
would
what
I
you're
would bet that that would work for you. Let me talk to you a little bit about my experiences with Dutch.
saying.
Um, First of all, the first time I was in the Netherlands, I was there. My wife and I were there together. The first time we'd been there, we spoke no Dutch whatsoever. And my wife pointed out something. She said, just standing here with a lot of people around us speaking Dutch, if I don't pay attention, it sounds like English. Most of the sounds are the same. The pacing is the same. There are a few little extra sounds, but mostly it just sounds like English. She said, but the moment I try to pay attention, I feel like I've gone insane because I can't understand any of
No,
it.
it's like you're in IKEA. Everyone, you sound
Yeah,
like you're in IKEA, and all of the words are Dumbledore. I don't know what they're saying.
yeah.
Just, it's crazy to me. But that
But
one,
but but Dutch, if you do relax enough, there are a lot of words that do sound a lot like English. There is a lot of overlap. But you have to really, at least my experience is, you have to really relax and not try to understand. Just let it, and pay attention, but don't try to think about it, if that makes
mm,
sense. And
mm,
and it's still very difficult. I don't speak Dutch at all, and I can't converse in Dutch with somebody.
mm,
But I can pick out words here and there if I relax and pay attention at the same.
mm. Interesting. So interesting. All right. So speaking about alcohol, let's
Yeah.
get to the bats because this one I just don't understand how we even studied drunk bats. Go ahead.
This was some experiments where they set up a sort of maze. Maze is the wrong word. They set up a sort of room that had columns in it for the bats to fly around.
Okay.
Right. Now, if it's nice and light, the bats could see these columns. They're not going to fly into them. And the bats, are famous for sending out, sounds that the bats can hear, which are like
Echolocation.
radar. And so they don't crash into things. So they can fly in the dark. And the question that these scientists were wondering was, al- alcohol is pretty common out everywhere. Awful lot of animals are around fruit and other stuff that starts to ferment and it
Oh.
turns into alcohol. We don't think
Sure.
about it, but it's everywhere, all around us. So it's really common for lots and lots of kinds of animals to be drinking in a
Mhm.
real way. And so the scientists were wondering, how does that affect them? If these bats, and they're picking bats partly because they like bats and partly because they thought, okay, this is a strange example. It's really gonna sink in and maybe tell us something about animals and us. Is that if a bat kind of drunk,
Drunk.
does its sort of, bat radar work as well?
No, it
Or
couldn't.
does it start to have problems? Does it become dangerous? Is it like drunk driving or drunk flying?
Drunk
You don't
flying.
want
And
you
they
don't want
said
your
that
pilot drinking.
it impairs their ability to fly and their ability to echolocate. So
Yeah.
they're just either falling to the ground or just flying right into columns is what they
Yeah,
said.
and what it might mean is they don't fly when they're drunk because you know either you're drunk or you start crashing into things and you're going to just take it easy for a while.
Wow.
But whoever really thought this was a possibility except a few people.
Now, Ascending Phoenix asks a particularly good question. Who's paying for these studies?
People always like to ask that question whenever there's anything.
Crazy.
Well, anything outside your experience just sounds weird.
Yes.
And let me stop for an instant and step sort of to the side and give an example of how anything that's outside your experience seems weird.
Thank you.
When you were a little kid
Okay.
growing up, did you ever, now and then, go over to a neighbor's house? You got invited to go and have dinner at the neighbor's house?
Yes.
Really unusual.
Yes.
Okay. And the food that they made and served to you, did it seem normal?
No.
Okay. And that's your neighbor.
Mm.
And that's pretty much everybody's experience. Even little things that are different from the way you're used to them, they're just weird. It feels like there's something wrong. Who would do this? Who would pay for this? Who would want to go near this? And that's even with stuff like going to dinner when you're a kid next door to the
So,
neighbor's.
but I mean, are a lot of these studies being
Yeah.
sponsored by like universities or private
Some of
organizations?
each, yeah. And a lot of them don't cost much at all. Some of them cost a lot. But quite often, people are trying to answer a question that you could use words that are really big and technical sounding, and then it sounds like, oh, this is important. Or you could use words that tell a story that's so ordinary seeming that it just sounds stupid. Who would want to spend time looking at something ordinary,
Well,
especially
that's like the
animals?
shoes, the stinky shoes.
That's
But
like, yeah. And that's what a lot of this stuff, in fact, that's what all of science is like. All of science, the great discoveries that we learn about in school, every single one of them, I'm pretty sure, when the people first noticed something and started telling their friends about it, how did the friends react? Either, well, that's stupid, or who cares, or that has to be wrong,
well,
or they just laugh.
speaking of one that was on your roster that was
Yeah,
slightly funny to me, and I was like, why would
only
they do
slightly.
was the one out of Israel. This is your chemistry prize. And so these guys wanted to test whether eating Teflon is a good way to increase food volume and how and hence satiety without increasing caloric intake. So their thought was that if you were to eat, cook with Teflon, maybe you're eating some of that Teflon. It's sliding in, it's sliding out. It makes you feel full. Is that
Oh, they
correct?
went way beyond what you're describing here.
Why? What are you saying?
What they're saying, what they tested here was the idea that if you want to eat fewer calories, if you want to lose weight, but you're always going to keep stuffing your face. Their idea was, all right, well, what if we mix in some stuff with the food that makes you feel full?
Like, just eat Teflon?
Yeah. And Teflon at least has the reputation, and a lot of tests say it doesn't seem to affect the body. Now, these people took a big step and said, we're going to add a lot of Teflon into this.
That's
And then
crazy.
And so they created, this is words that I'm using to describe it. These are not their words, but they created what you could think of kind of as the Teflon diet. That if you add a lot of Teflon to your meals, you'll feel full because you ate a lot of bulk, but most of that stuff you can't digest. It just passes through without.
Just in
All
and
right.
out.
Now, you remember at the start of our conversation, Dina, I mentioned that our prizes, the Ig Nobel prizes, they have nothing to do with whether something is good or bad. And I think this Teflon diet thing we're talking about is a really good example of that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All
Now,
right, wait. My phone is gonna go dead in a second, so I gotta go get my
uh-oh.
charger. But tell everybody, like, what do you think is like the craziest one that you've had in the 35 years? Give them a highlight. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, one that I fell in love with, and a lot of other people did too, was an invention that was done in the 60s and was done by a married couple named Blonsky, Blonsky, George and Charlotte Blonsky, a married couple. They've got a patent. You can go and Google this, find it very easily. And this patent is for an invention they have to assist a woman in giving birth by using centrifugal force. So in this invention, and there are beautiful drawings in their patent that you can find, this invention for the Blonsky device to assist a woman in giving birth shows what this machine is. It's a big round table with some machinery attached underneath. When the woman is ready to deliver her child, she lies on the table on her back. They strap her to the table so she won't come loose, and then they spin the table at high speed, and the child comes flying out. In fact, I have a picture. If you can wait about 10 seconds, I'll
Yeah, no, I
get a picture and bring it back.
can
I'll be
definitely
right
wait.
back.
Yeah,
You,
that's
you
worth
get
waiting for.
okay.
Just
I'm just going
waiting.
to point up at the ceiling. You can see my ceiling. It's very exciting.
Wow, I did not expect that. Yeah, no, I was pretty sure Teflon was like not a good idea, but they're just giving it to people.
Okay, so I'm glad you asked.
Yeah,
I keep this picture
you should.
here because I'm just endlessly intrigued by this. So this is a picture from the patent of the Blonsky device. Can you see that?
Oh, I see it. I
Yeah,
see a woman strapped to a table in a giant circle.
yeah. There are other drawings, and they are beautiful. It took us years to track down the Blonskys to offer them the prize, and by the time, sorry about that. By the time we did, um, they had both George and Charlotte had passed away, and they'd lived very long lives. But we managed to find their niece. Because during the last decade of their life, George and Charlotte lived with their niece out in California, and she knew them really well. And so she told us the story behind this, and it was utterly different from anything we could have imagined. You read this thing, and it's very good writing. It's sort of like Edgar Allan Poe, that style. And it goes into endless detail about how worried they are about the safety of the mother and the safety of the child. Most of the invention is little things to try to keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
But even so, you look at the idea of this thing and it's kind of horrifying.
So nobody's ever done it.
As far as the niece knows,
I hope so.
nobody ever did. But she said George and Charlotte were really sweet people. They loved children. They had even written some books for children. And the story that she remembered from them was that for a while they lived in New York City and they loved to go to the zoo. They loved to go to the Bronx Zoo. One day, George and Charlotte Blonsky were in the zoo and they were looking at the elephants. And there was an elephant that was spinning slowly, twirling. And they couldn't understand why this elephant would just keep twirling slowly. So they asked somebody who worked there, one of the zookeepers. And the story that George and Charlotte told their niece, that she told to me years later, is that the zookeeper said, "Oh, that elephant is pregnant. That's what a pregnant elephant does just before it's going to give birth. It spins." So Georgia and Charlotte walked home from their visit to the zoo that day, and they were really fascinated. They had lived all around the world. George was a mining engineer, so they lived in all kinds of villages and cities and everything all around the world. And they came up with the idea that, you know, childbirth can be really painful for the mother and drawn out, this long thing. But maybe in a lot of villages in the world, people figured out long ago how to make it work better, and that knowledge got lost when people started to live in cities because they couldn't pass it on to their neighbors until
Hmm.
and so during that walk they came up with the idea that maybe this spinning is something that people used to do. George is an engineer, and so he decided, well, I can help. I can design a machine so that a woman can spin. And who knows, maybe this is an old traditional thing. And that's where
Okay.
this came from.
All right. That is quite an invention. All
Yeah.
right. Wait. So there's a couple we haven't gotten to. Okay. Narcissists.
Yeah. This was this was some experiments done by a team. One of them is in Poland. The other is somebody who is Canadian who now is a scientist living in Australia.
Hmm.
And they were looking at what happens when you tell a person repeatedly, hey, you're really intelligent. How does that affect the person? Does it make them, increase their opinion of their smarts? Does it make them narcissistic, more
Hmm.
narcissistic? And what happens to somebody who's really narcissistic to start with if you start telling them that? And they also looked at the other end. What happens if you don't exactly say to somebody, you're not very smart. It's just the way you're talking to them makes it clear that I don't really respect your mental abilities. And they say what they found most of the time with most people is if you do make it clear to people that you think they're really smart, their opinion of themselves is going to go up and up and up. They think they're smarter and smarter.
Hmm.
But if you do the opposite, if you make it clear to somebody that I really don't think you're very smart compared to most people,
Hmm.
their opinion of themselves that way is going to start going down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I tell everybody about the other one that you did on narcissists and their eyebrows. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's how I first got. I was like, because then of course in my mind I'm going through
Remind everybody what the
all
remind
the
it.
people that I know. I'm like, I knew it. I knew it. That's crazy. All right, now here's the one that I didn't
Yeah.
understand. Maybe you can explain, because this doctor, I guess, received this award posthumously. Dr. Bean.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Bean.
Tell me. So now he won the literature prize, which I don't understand at all, because tell everybody
Okay.
how, tell everybody what he
Dr.
was awarded.
Bean, Dr. Bean won the literature prize because he wrote a lot of reports about what he did. So he wrote a lot of beautiful reports explaining what he did. That's why it was literature. And they're
Oh,
really interesting to read. What
okay.
he did over the course of his entire adult lifetime was try to measure, and he succeeded, try to measure how fast one of his fingernails grew. And what he did was etch little lines on his fingernail. And then every few days or whatever, he would keep a record of how much that had grown, how much it moved away from the quick. And he
And
did that for 35 years, publishing a series of 6 or 7 really detailed reports with photographs. And he discovered all sorts of stuff. One was that when he was younger, when he was in his 20s and 30s, his fingernails grew quite a bit faster than when he got up into his 60s and 70s. The other thing he discovered, and he discovered lots of little things, but another thing he discovered was during periods when he was sick, he had the flu or whatever, he could tell from watching the rate of growth of his fingernails. The fingernails wouldn't grow as fast when he was sick. Now, what this means, he didn't exactly try to claim he understood everything about whether this is important or what it might mean for people. But it does seem to indicate that when you get older or when you get sick, a lot of different parts of your body
slow down.
change. The
Yeah.
effects can be seen. And when you get healthier or better shape or whatever,
Goes
that can
back.
even affect things like how fast your fingernails grow.
In-
Probably affects all kinds of other stuff too.
Interesting. All right. So the only one we haven't talked about.
And I should mention he died long ago. We managed to find one of his sons, Bennett Bean, who lives in New Jersey, who's an artist, who's now 83 years old. And Bennett came up to the ceremony and was a really nice guy. And he was so happy. It was a really sweet thing to see how happy he was that his father was getting some appreciation.
Ah,
Bennett had mixed feelings about how important it was, but he had a lot of memories. And he also said that Dr. Bean made all of his kids measure their fingernails too. Maybe
oh,
his wife too. I'm not sure. I've forgotten the details about that.
it's so lovely. I mean, you think about all of these people who, you know, find are drawn to these fine details of life, right?
Yeah.
That most of us just overlook. And these amazing things. I don't know if you heard of this lady, and if you haven't, I'm going to tell you, Mark, because
Tell me.
she's the lady you should find. There's a woman, and I think her husband had Parkinson's.
Uh-huh.
Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it was Parkinson's. And she was his caregiver. And as he got worse and worse, she was caring for him. But she comes from a long line of people, her family, that
Hmm.
have a very acute sense of smell. Just super acute. It's just kind of their family trait. You were just at a gas station eating a hoagie. Like I could smell your history on you, right?
Yep. Yep.
So she's caring for her husband. He's getting worse. Eventually, she decides it's important for them to join like a support group that it is good for her and for him. So she, for whatever reason, leaves him in the car, goes inside to make sure that they're in the right spot.
Hmm.
And she goes inside of this room and they say, "Yeah, this is us. You can come in." But she had poked her head in the room enough to be in the room with all of these people and say, "I know this smell. I know this smell. This is what my husband smells like." She
Whoa.
calls her local university who
Yeah.
was doing research on Parkinson's.
Yeah.
I'm like, "I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think that Parkinson's has a smell, almost like diabetes when people go into that
Hmm.
ketoacidosis, that sweet.
Hmm.
Just, I think there's a smell to Parkinson's." And they say, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "It's super crazy, but I'm caring for my husband. But I walked in this room and this room smells just like my husband." And so they bring her in, they set up a room. And in some of these rooms, people have Parkinson's, in other rooms, they don't. They send her in and out of the rooms, and she can tell you every single person that had Parkinson's. And
Wow.
so they were saying that, this is not a cure, right? This is not the groundbreaking cure, but it is an early detector. And how can people, they're saying with most diseases, obviously, the earlier you can detect it, the more you can,
Yeah.
fight against it. But it was just so interesting. um but again, these little things, and enough where people will reach out to somebody and be like, "I know this sounds crazy, but I think I can smell Parkinson's." Like, it's just so
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
so crazy.
Yeah. I hadn't heard that. I've heard a lot of stories like that about a lot of things, and I do know from the past, talking with a long time ago with people who a long time ago were very old doctors, hearing some of them say that when they were in medical school, decades and decades ago, it was pretty common for doctors, new doctors, to be taught to recognize the smells of
Mm,
many kinds of medical problems, and
mm,
that as more and more stuff got jammed into what doctors were supposed to learn, things
mm.
like that got squeezed out.
Yeah,
Now sound weird,
yeah,
but
but coming
yeah,
back around.
yeah, yeah.
Back. All right. So the last one, which I
Uh-huh.
kept for last because I'm Italian and I just think this is so crazy. So, surprise, surprise, this particular award is out of Italy. good food. Spain, good food. Germany, won't say anything. And Austria, I don't know.
Yep.
And this is your physics prize. So tell everybody about this one.
Yeah, this is, I think, 8 physicists. They study physics. All of them are Italian.
Oh,
The other countries are mentioned because a lot of them are working
oh,
now
oh, that makes sense.
at
They're all.
universities in other countries, but they're all friends. In fact, they met in many cases in these other countries when they were working together, and
Mhm.
they all have a really strong interest in food, especially Italian food, and
Yes.
even had the habit of making all kinds of dishes they were proud of for their friends in other countries. So, see, this is the kind of food we eat in Italy, and I want to introduce you to it. And there's a kind of pasta dish that's pretty simple to cook, but really difficult to cook well. That's just cheese and pepper, and that's pretty much it, and pasta. And if it's not cooked just right, it's clumpy, and nobody is really happy. If it's cooked just right, it's smooth.
Mm,
And so it's called cacio e pepe, cheese and pepper.
mm.
And what they looked at, they did a whole bunch of experiments to try to see if they could come up with some kind of simple, reliable way to cook this recipe so it would always come out delicious and never come out clumpy. And there's a trick that they came up with that they discovered a lot of really good cooks know about, but most people don't know about,
What
which
was
is
it?
to add a little cornstarch to it.
Hmm.
That was the secret they came up with.
Hmm.
So we got in touch with them, and they were really happy to be winning the Ig Nobel Prize. And if you win a prize, first of all, when we offer a prize, people can say no if they want. Almost everybody says yes.
I was gonna say, who
Overall,
would say no?
yeah, people get to say no if they don't want it. And so the bunch of them, and you have to keep it secret until the ceremony because the winners are secret until they step on stage. So the 7 or 8 of them kept it secret. 7 of them traveled over to Boston 2 weeks ago to the ceremony. Uh, a lot of them brought their mothers. They are all, I'd say, late 20s, early 30s, handsome, charming, sweet, young Italian scientists. It was easy to imagine if you wanted to, that if somebody wanted to start a TV show, sort of like Friends, if you really wanted to work, you would find these 7 guys, and everybody who met them just fell in love with them, and they got up. We introduced them. The crowd went kind of nuts in a happy way, and then we served this pasta dish to the people on stage. The people on stage are Nobel Prize winners, as you remember,
Yes.
who come to the ceremony. They're the people who hand out the Ig Nobel
Mm.
Prize
Mm.
to the Ig Nobel winners. So the Ig Nobel, sorry, let me get this straight. The Nobel Prize winners handed the Ig Nobel Prize to the Ig Nobel Prize winners, who then handed to the Nobel Prize winners some of this freshly made cacio.
Wow.
And you could watch them in the videos up on the website. You can see it happily eating this stuff. It was
That's
just
awesome.
like
And
this
their moms
gigantic
must have
family
loved
affair.
it. Their
Yeah.
moms must have loved it.
Oh yeah.
Wow. It's a good thing you're doing here, Mark. It's a
We
good thing.
try. We
It's a good
try.
thing. Well,
Yep.
listen, another stellar year, and I went back and I watched the
Oh,
videos and
glad you did.
all of the everybody makes paper airplanes in the audience and flies them around. It's amazing, and so thank you so much for filling us in on all of the amazing.
Yeah, thanks
Uh,
again. It's always a real treat to talk to you.
yeah, I just love it. I just think it's such an
Excuse
interesting.
me, it's a real treat to talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. But it's super interesting, Mark. And I did. So when I started Googling, because you have your list on the website of the
Yeah.
winners, but I was like, I want to read some of these. So I Googled it. And you got a ton of press this year on
We
some of these.
always do, and it keeps growing and growing, you know, very much. If you were in Japan, this is always front page news in Japan. And
Yeah.
apparently it's been like that for years and years and years. People in Japan have been
Now,
telling.
one thing that I saw that looks new to me, but maybe it's
Yeah.
not, was that you listed Ig Nobel Britain, Ig Nobel Japan. Like, is this the first time that the winners are getting together to talk about that? Because that was looked new.
Yeah, this is kind of new. And this is getting into the not quite pleasant experience of this year, 2025. There are 10 winners. Most of them are from other countries. The ceremony's here in Boston, in the USA. Of the 10 winners, 9 of them immediately said, "Oh, we want to come to the ceremony. It's great." The 10th one said, "Very happy to get the prize. No way we are coming to the United States now, not with what's happening and what might happen to us."
Hmm.
So we planned for that, and we were starting to get worried months ahead of time about what happens if some of the winners travel and run into problems. So we gave that a lot of looking at and preparation. In the week before the ceremony, 3 of the others changed their mind, decided they didn't feel comfortable traveling to the United
Wow.
States. So we had 6 of the 10 winners, some of them are teams, came to the ceremony. The
Hmm.
other 4 we did because we want them to get some time in the spotlight. The winners get
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of the winners get a lot of international attention, which sometimes is even helpful in their careers.
Well, I was gonna
And
say, I'm
yeah,
sure that people are paying attention to what they're doing
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah.
Awesome.
Um, Sometimes it's even helpful within their own specialty, their profession. So we
Yeah.
want to make sure they each of the winners got attention. So we did 2 things. One was we asked the winners who didn't come, send us your acceptance speech. And the speeches are short, about a minute.
Hmm.
And we arranged for each of the winners who did not come that a Nobel Prize winner would read their speech for them.
Oh,
Nice. And the other thing we did was to organize some events that are going to happen later this year in other countries where some of the winners get together. And each of these events is pretty simple. It's just we get a few winners together on a stage and they ask each other questions about their work.
now will you be at all of these events?
I'll be at most of them. Yeah. Ooh, I've got a low battery
Yeah,
warning here
me
now.
too. Me too.
Um, I'm going to be at most of them. One of them is in London, and for anybody listening, if you're around, on Halloween night, and at a very famous old science institution right in the middle of London, and that's
Mm,
going to be really nice. A week later in Berlin, we'll be doing some stuff there.
wow.
In January, there's going to be one of these things happening in Tokyo, Japan. I won't be at that. There's a possibility there's going to be one in Paris. Some of the winners from last year are French and are trying very hard to organize something.
Oh, that's so
And then
nice.
also in December, I'm pretty sure there's going to be an event like this in Italy, in a little city called Perugia, which is just north of Rome. And I will be going to that one.
Of course you are. And you're going to have the Italians there and they're going to feed you pasta,
It's
perfect
going to be
pasta.
so much fun. Yeah. So
That's
anybody who's
awesome.
listening, if you want to join us, come join us.
That's awesome, Mark. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's
Thank
always
you,
a
Dina.
pleasure. I'm going to try to sneak away maybe next year and come see it again. It really is one of my favorite things, and you do such a good job. So thanks for coming and sharing with us. And yeah, I can't wait to see what kind of fun stuff you discover for next
Thank
year.
you. Now go read up on the Blonsky device.
I
Yes.
will. Yes. I'll start spinning now. All right. Thanks, Mark. I'll see you. Thanks for being here.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. That's so interesting, you guys. I don't know how you leave, Mark. Is there a button?
I'm trying to find it here.
I don't know. I don't know.
Something.
Well,
Okay.
we'll
I think I
probably
found it.
say we could say goodbye together. So everybody, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow morning,
Okay.
and have a
Here's my
great night.
thumbnail growing very slowly. Good night.
All right. See you. Bye, guys. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good one. Bye bye.